Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of parenting a neurodivergent child and wondering if any other dads truly get it? Many fathers walk this journey quietly, focus on providing for their families, but not always having a place to talk, connect, or recharge. In today's episode, I sit down with Dr. Jonathan Chism, founder of the Autism Dad Social Club, to talk about why dads need community too and how powerful it can be when fathers come together to support each other. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Autism Family Resource Podcast, a place for guidance, support, and real conversations about raising neurodivergent children. From Pure Hearts Therapy, I'm your host, Brian Keene. All right, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest, we have Jonathan Chism, a father, an educator, and founder of the Autism Dad Social Club. In this episode, we'll dive into why supporting dads matter and what happens when fathers find community. Welcome back, Jonathan.
My pleasure, Brian. Glad to be here.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you on here and learn from you. Let's go ahead and dive into the Autism Dad Social Club. Let's start with tell me what it is. What is this club?
The Autism Dad Social Club, as in the title, we are a social club. So we are committed to getting together, to doing things to build community. When we were first established, our primary objective was to create opportunities for our kids on the spectrum to socialize because developing social bonds and relationships, initiating relationships is hard for some autistic kids. And we also found that it applies to dads as well, who tend to be isolated. And so we are intentional about meeting at least once a month, doing cool, fun things. If it's shooting some pool, bowling, just going out to a restaurant and enjoying a meal at many of the fine establishments in Houston. We do that, and we also do fun things with our families and kids to build community and socialize.
That's awesome. I'm sure that's highly needed. And I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit as we talk. Was there a moment that made you start the Autism Dad Social Club? Was something stand out and experience? What made you feel like, hey, this is very needed?
As a parent, grappling with the diagnosis, for one, and then just the journey of parenting a kid on the spectrum. There's some challenges that come with autistic parents that only I think other autistic parents truly get and understand. And so early on in the process, I was looking for community, some other dads, some other families that I could talk with about some of the challenges that I was experiencing. If it's in the school system, if it's with behavior plans, interventions at home. And so I remember Brian trying to reach out via social media to find some groups on Facebook, Instagram. And also, I did find one group, I won't specify the name, and they were having a meetup somewhere in the Houston, Fort Bend County area. So I was like, okay, man, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and meet some other parents. They was like, bring some donuts. And so I remember going, getting my donuts that morning, and it was a wild goose chase. Like, I don't know what happened. I showed up, no one was there.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And so I took the initiative to reach out to some parents that I had met in my community. Because once you have an autistic child, you start to meet people. Like, for instance, my wife had a colleague that had an autistic child, and I met somebody else that had an autistic child. And so we started there and was like, okay, let's try to pull parents together to organize and come together to build and create something to support each other as we're on this journey. And so that's the story. I was able to collaborate with a colleague at Texas Southern University. We just happened to go to lunch one day and come to find out he had an autistic kid around the same age. And so we immediately connected on that, and I invited him to the table. Another one of my other colleagues or friends that was actually going to his child was going to the same ABA company, and we actually live in the same neighborhood as well. And so we was like, we should get together. And so we are the primary co-founders, Jesse and Emmanuel for the Autism Dad Social Club. And so it started with us bringing our families together, and we've been doing it ever since.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think in any world or anything you do, community is important, especially parenting. What would you say? You mentioned like some of those challenges that came up, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. But what were some of the challenges initially that you were thinking of when you're talking about, hey, I need some community and something to relate to? What were some of those things that came to mind?
Well, I think one is just finding things to engage your child on the spectrum.
Mm,
And it's still a challenge to this day. My son, he comes home, he probably like a lot of autistic kids, he likes to spend time looking at his favorite YouTube videos, but getting him to do something outside of the norm is a challenge. And so what we try to do is to do different events, different programs to try to push him to try new things. And so that was one of the visions and the goals. And also just behaviors. For some kids, it varies if it's elopement, communication, life skills, creating those opportunities for, him to learn life skills was important to me. And so I tried to get him in social situations so that he can learn the appropriate ways of engaging people in the community. And so I find that doing this with other autistic parents is extremely helpful because they get it. I mean, you don't have to explain or, try to help people understand what autism means and how it expresses and manifests itself. And so, I mean, that's the big thing, Brian, is being able to work with other parents that already get it. Like it's no need to explain what is happening here. I mean,
mm.
what's understood, as they say, doesn't have to be explained. And so that's what I love about our group and the club. So yeah, I mean, I think those are two examples dealing with behavior issues, life skills, and trying to collaborate with other parents to figure out how we can help. Another thing we do is we set up a WhatsApp,
Right.
and it's a way that we're able to text each other as dads about different concerns and different issues. I mean, just today I was texting a dad who was looking for a some type of watch or mechanism to keep track of his kid, dealing with elopement issues. And so we're able to share resources. If somebody needs a resource for a advocate and they're going up for IEP. So dads were able to exchange information and provide that type of support. And I've spoken to and called a lot of dads as well.
That's huge. There's so many layers on it. I could see where all the benefits have kind of come from that. Like you said, one, just having community of people who get you, being able to talk. That WhatsApp is huge because I used to be in the military, so it makes me think about like check on your buddy, welfare check, right? Make sure everybody's good because I
Right.
imagine things could feel isolating. Just from people I've talked to already, where it's like it feels like it's just you, but then when you build community, you feel like no, it's more than me, right? That is so big, and I liked your thing about the technology and being able to find something for elopement. So that's really huge. I love all those so far. What does a typical for maybe right now you guys are just based in Texas, right? But you're looking at expanding, is that correct?
That's correct. So we're based in Houston, and right now we're trying to start at home and expand in Houston because Houston is large. If you haven't been, fourth largest city in the United States and very spread out. A lot of neighborhoods and subdivisions. We're primarily based in the Fort Bend County area in Houston, which is like Sugarland, Missouri City. But this year we've started to have events in Katy. We just had a mixer in Tomball, which is like an hour drive for me, but we want to be accessible to dads. And our hope is to have Autism Dad Social Club chapters eventually throughout the country. And one thing I will say, just besides being a social club, I like to think of Autism Dad Social Club as a fraternity. Like
Mm,
we want to be a brotherhood for dads that have kids on the spectrum because part of having a child diagnosed with autism, a lot of times parents grapple with, man, what did I do wrong? Like what happened? Why did this happen? It can be a mournful, a sad experience, but we want to bring some joy and appreciation to the gift of parenting an autistic child. And so we're a brotherhood that affirms, that values our kids with autism that are different. And we take pride in this journey. And that's what I love. And so just like, you have your various social clubs, whether it's Greek letter organizations that do things to serve the community, and people join those organizations and feel a sense of pride and community. We want the Autism Dad Social Club to provide that as well. So you may feel a sense of shame and a negative stigma just being isolated as a parent, but once you bond with other fathers, you feel a sense of pride. Like, man, I parent an autistic child. Yeah, I mean, and we're out here doing it. We're serving the community. We're giving back and making a difference. And so we hope that dads in Houston and throughout the country, and hopefully even throughout the world, can find a sense of camaraderie and brotherhood and being a part of something that's larger than themselves.
I am curious, and it is a little bit of a two-part thing. One is for the people who aren't necessarily in Houston. We'll get to that one second. But first one is for the people who are near you in Houston. What could they typically expect out of this club? Like a day, not day in the life, but like if they show up, what kind of events are you guys doing? What does the structure look like? You guys meeting for an hour? You guys meeting for hours? What does that look like? Yeah. So, because I imagine the first time doing something like this, someone might feel nervous. Like, what's it looking like?
Man, I'm glad you asked that, Brian, because a lot of times, and I've had dads that wonder, like, okay, what am I walking into here? What we aspire not to be is just a support group, and your typical support group. I mean, which they're great, and of course we want to provide support, but we're not like sitting in a circle and that in a gloomy environment where everybody is just talking about their challenges, even though we try to provide that space. But we, on a typical meeting time, which usually is the fourth Saturday of the month, our window is 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on a Saturday. We typically find the dads that are working and got kids, if they have some activities during the early part of the day that will be done. And, it's kind of a good time to step away from the family and recharge. Meetups typically last for a couple of hours, and we do a round of introductions so that everybody can kind of get to know each other, introduce yourself, your kids, diagnosis, and then we'll have an icebreaker typically. And on a given day, we're gonna spend the bulk of the time doing some type of fun social activity. Autism Dad Social Club, we take respite very seriously, and respite is needed. You got to take a break,
Mm,
recharge your batteries, especially if you're parenting a special needs child. So we're gonna do something fun, and for me, as one of the leaders, I mean, it's is why I'm able to keep doing this is because it's not work. I
mm,
mean, we're going to the driving range, we're going bowling, we're shooting some pool, we're eating some good food at a restaurant, usually not a meal, just some refreshments, a couple of hot wings or some chips and dips, and just relax. And if you're a person that drinks and you want a beverage of your choice, I mean there's a space for that as well. I mean, we want dads to kick back, socialize, number one, and get to meet other fathers. And we kind of leave a natural space for, dads to ask any questions that they have. And our hope and what we've envisioned is that we can have dads a part of the club that are across a variety of ages. And that is, some dads have kids that are adults, some have kids that are teenagers, some have kids that just got diagnosed, 3 years old, some adolescents. And so we're able to exchange tips and ideas, answer questions based on the wisdom that's in the group, make referrals and recommendations on things that, people can try and consider. I mean, that's a typical dad's mixer and the family events. In short, I mean, what many parents have commented is how relaxed they feel
Mm.
coming to our events. If it's the Easter egg hunt, which we have planned for actually this coming weekend, we're going to have autism families coming out all over Houston. And when their kids show up, if they're stemming, if they're going in a circle, whatever they're doing, no one is judging or looking at you strange because, we all have autistic kids and we all get it. And so, and your kid is going to be loved and embraced, encouraged. And one of the beautiful things that I enjoy is having over the last 3, 4 years been able to meet kids on the spectrum, right? And my kid is growing, other kids are growing, and they know me, and I'm starting to know them. And so really forming authentic relationships with the dads as we meet, but also with our kids. And so the hope is to have a real brotherhood, a real community. So my brothers in the club, their children can know my kids,
Mm.
and they tight, and that's the hope. And so they can grow together and be on this journey, supporting each other throughout their lives.
That's really huge. I love that the real community aspect of like not just you guys, but the kids are knowing each other, the families knowing each other. It reminds me of a recent guest I had, Manny Pickley, and she talked about, everyone talks about having a seat at the table. And there's a difference between having a seat at the table and being a part of the conversation versus facing the wall. And I feel like this is a perfect example. It's like the kids are there too, and they're getting to know extended members of the family. So you guys are one big community. That's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. No, I mean, and that's it, man. I think one of the stories that, I mean, I think just a couple of months ago, one of my co-founders, his daughter was calling me uncle, like, "Hey, Uncle Jonathan," and I'm like, man, that warmed my heart. Like,
Oh,
and that's what we envision. I mean, because I want her to know that you do have another uncle, right? That my son is your brother. That you have another family member. And 3 years ago, we were just strangers. We didn't really know each other, even though we lived in the same neighborhood. But now, I feel like we're family. We are brothers. We're kin people, and
mm.
that's what it takes. It takes a village, as the adage says, to raise a child, and I think that even applies all the more to our autistic children. They need a wide, warm circle of support.
I agree with that statement. It takes a village to raise a child, and that's harder than ever in today's world because we seem to be more isolated. We got all the
Yeah.
tech to, be together and communicate, but then it's not really as authentic as it used to be. But I think that's a good transition into what I want to ask you next. And not everybody's in Houston. Not everybody has access to where you're at. For someone else in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, Arkansas, wherever it might be, what kind of advice would you give to that dad who doesn't have community yet? Because I've learned as I've gotten older, if you don't initiate, things just don't happen. So anyone who's kind of like feels like they're alone, kind of how you were feeling, what advice would you give that dad or honestly any parent?
I mean, first, know that you are definitely not alone. And one of the things that we are striving to do as we expand, and just at the beginning of this year, we had our first virtual series called the Fatherhood Huddle. And we're hoping that the virtual platform will enable dads throughout the country to plug in, to connect with us at specific hours. So if you're in Arizona, I mean, there's a time difference, but you're able to log in and connect with other dads. And doing some research is other virtual platforms out there. And I would encourage dads to do some research to find your community. I mean, you have to be proactive. A lot of times these resources won't find you, but if you are diligent, looking online, I mean, there are Facebook groups, there are virtual groups, and perhaps in your community, there are some organizations that you can plug into. When we first started, we partner with a group called the Autism Society of Texas. Autism Society is throughout the country, and so that's a starter. Look up your local Autism Society, and I'm sure they probably have it of Kansas, of Arkansas, of Nebraska. Autism Speaks. They have a walk that parents can do. And before I started the club, my wife and I, we were participating in the Autism Speaks walk. And so look online and start to explore those opportunities to connect. And of course, the last thing I will say, what we're hoping to do is to provide dads with a blueprint for starting an Autism Dad Social Club chapter and connecting with us. So if you want to do what we're doing in Texas, in Oklahoma, in whatever state you're in, we want to guide you through that process, which is very simple. We started with 3 dads, and if now we may have 12, 15 dads to show up on a mixer, but if it was just us three that showed up, that was cool. And so start with where you're at. It only takes a couple. And then you can start to promote and welcome other dads into the fold and build that community. And so it's possible. If it doesn't exist, you may have to start it. And we're glad to walk you through that process.
That's awesome. A little bit of mentorship or guidance is kind of what I'm hearing from that. I do want to kind of close out. I think that was a good way to close out, but I also want to put emphasis on the dads because a lot of times, it's the mothers doing the different groups, right? You don't see a lot of the dads group. Tell me why that is important to have the dads empowered and have community. I'm sure it's just as part of everyone, but give me your perspective on, where dads might be, why and where dads might be out of the loop and why they should have this community.
Yeah, and that's a hard one, Brian. Mainly, I think dads, we are focused on business, which is in the traditional model, being the breadwinner, being a provider for our kids, making sure that the needs are met for our family. But I would stress that dads also have needs, emotional, spiritual, social, and oftentimes don't recognize that they have those needs and they are going unfulfilled and unmet. So the risk is burnout eventually, because this journey of parenting a kid on the spectrum is not easy. And for many of us, especially if your kid is intellectually disabled or low functioning or have high support needs, it's easy to kind of burn out. And so it's important for dads to recognize the need to find a community, to get the support, and to be able to recharge. And that's what the Autism Dad Social Club aims to provide is that need. Also, it's more than just my family that is dealing with having a kid on the spectrum. It's not just about me, but it's about us as a community of dads and fathers. And we've heard the adage that together everybody achieves more, team. And that applies to our autistic kids and families and communities, that we can help them have a more fulfilled, purposeful, meaningful life if we work together instead of in silos. If we pool our resources, combine our efforts, I mean, ultimately, we can do more for our families instead of, hey, I'm just gonna focus on my family and you take care of your family. No, it's all of our families that we have to think about. So I would encourage dads to think about themselves, give it a try, reaching out, getting support, help from other dads, and not only getting support, but let's say you've been a father of an autistic kid for years. You may have a lot of wisdom to share that another dad that is just getting this diagnosis needs to hear. They need to hear your voice that, man, you know what? You're gonna adjust to this. Things are gonna get better for you. And so we give dads that opportunity as well to give back the lessons, the wisdom that you have gleaned from years of parenting a kid on the spectrum.
I agree. I love that. I think that there's just as empowering to be able to have community, but also to give back in all that wisdom. Thank you. I love the closing there. So it's been a pleasure, Jonathan.
Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate the opportunity.
The one thing that really stood out for me from my conversation with Jonathan is how powerful community can be for parents. Parenting a neurodivergent child can sometimes feel isolating, especially for dads who are focused on providing for their families and trying to hold everything together. And Jonathan shared something really important. Dads need support too. They need space to talk, to ask questions, to recharge, and to connect with other fathers who understand the journey without needing long explanations. And sometimes, all it takes is a few people willing to show up. That's how the Autism Dad Social Club started. Just a few dads coming together and building something meaningful for their families. So if you're a parent listening today and feeling alone on this journey, remember this. There are other families out there who understand. And sometimes the first step towards community is simply reaching out. If you're looking for more support or resources, visit us at pureheartstherapy.com. We're here to help you feel more confident and supported along your parenting journey. Thank you for listening to the Autism Family Resource Podcast. If this episode helped you at all, share it with another parent or caregiver who may need it. And remember, connection, safety, and trust start with simple moments. We'll see you next time.